Community Matters.
Hello and welcome to Many Voices, One Community, stories that unite us across Long Island and beyond. I'm Gaitley Stevenson-Mathews. I am your host for this podcast. And let me tell you, today is a special day for me because the woman sitting beside me is Kate Csillag. Kate Csillag. And now Kate, I met some time ago, as I remember, or as you reminded me of, I should say, at Morgan Park Summer Music Festival.
Absolutely. You came right up to meet me.
And I remember that, and I do that sometimes. And then also more recently, I met you at the Senior Center or became reacquainted because of your knitting and crocheting that you do there. And I want to really dive into that. But before we get into that, I'd like you to just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this art form and how you engage people across Long Island, certainly here on the North Shore, in that art form.
So I've done it since I was a child. I could knit and crochet before I could write, before I went to school. And I grew up in a home with my mother and my grandmother, so there was no moment that I learned, but it's just always been part of what I do. We made our own blankets, we knit our socks, like that. And it's just always been a part of what I do. So
here's the thing I love, because I think I had mentioned to you, I kind of grew up with some of the folk traditions and also became reacquainted to those at Berea College, which is in the Appalachian Mountains, and go to a dance camp and went, or a dance weekend. And oftentimes they have what they call parlor, which is everyone gets together, and it's kind of like a hoolie in the Irish tradition or a ceilidh in the Scottish tradition. But people share songs that their grandparents taught them or folk arts. And during all of this, there are oftentimes men and women who are watching and listening and waiting for it to begin. And this is what they're doing. They're talking, they're smiling, but they are busy at work. And, I know what joy it brings to them. And I know the people who are involved in it, it brings so much to the community. Why don't you share a little bit about kind of the things that you do here in Glen Cove and on Long Island and how you engage others and what you're doing. Again, I walked into the Senior Center.
That's right.
So those of you who know me, there are a lot of things I do, but one of those is not crochet.
Okay, well, you do now.
I do now because I was introduced, because I walked into the Senior Center. I think there was a Sage Foundation event. There you all were.
That's right.
My good friend Ruth, who was part of
That's right.
that group. Angie Bazil.
She wasn't there that moment, maybe.
She wasn't there.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's so many
yeah.
who I know from the center who were involved in
That's
it.
right.
And before I knew it, there I was, crocheting away.
And you picked it right up.
And I picked it right up. Well, I didn't quite pick it right up. She's being very gracious, let me tell you. But why don't you share how that started, if people are interested in being involved?
Sure.
How does that work?
So all they have to do is show up, find where I am, and come and be a part of what we do. I teach from the very beginning. If you've never picked up a needle, you can still stop by. I bring hooks and yarn and needles, so you don't even have to have anything with you to get started. I'm all over. I'm at the library, the senior center, the city hall for some employees sometimes, the temple for folks there, and you just need to come and be and pick up. So that's the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I have folks, there's no commitment. If you come and try it and keep coming back, you show up when you want to. You don't have to stay for the whole session. I had folks that you don't even know this, the bus drivers that were for the Tigerman School, they did spend some of their free time when they were waiting at the library in Glen Cove. And so I see somebody sitting there with nothing to do. I say, come join us. You want to try this? So they spent a few weeks, learned to knit. And
so you're like an evangelist for the knitters and the crochet. or for bringing fibers and people together. Okay,
Well,
that's a new one, right?
I would say more about bringing the people together, because
Right.
the key is it looked like it was somebody that was maybe alone, was looking for someone. That's what our groups really are about. So knit and crochet is lovely, fabulous. I'll share that with everyone, and I do it all the time. But for a lot of our groups, it's people that needed a spot to belong. So they've become part of the group. They not only come once a week to stitch, or they join multiple. I have one lady that goes with me from group to group and seems to not be able to get enough. But they find a place to belong, whether it's kids or our seniors. There's no difference between the people when we knit and crochet. It doesn't matter your age or your race or marital status or whatever. In fact, I teach a group that is predominantly non-English speaking, and I only speak English.
So here's the thing. So I noticed you in this group at the Glen Cove Senior Center.
Right.
And as you know, the name of this program is Many Voices, One Community. And I see people of different ages, different backgrounds. And, one might argue that, what are we doing sitting here talking about knitting and crochet? But I find, or at least I saw that little glimpse, and certainly I've seen it in others who love the art form, is that it's much bigger. It's much bigger than just the activity of knitting and the activity of crochet. Correct. Would you say that's the case?
That's absolutely the case. And that's my goal. So when you come to a group, if I'm the leader, there are certain topics that are never allowed to be presented. If someone brings up a topic that may be divisive, we skillfully change the subject so that no one is left out. We work together as one community. So I have students as young as 5 that have successfully learned to knit in our groups, and our older students, shall we say, are beyond 80. So they can sit next to each other and share that time and build a friendship where the person with more experience maybe can share stories about their past. The folks with less experience can still share their stories, but they can also learn the history of the other person, right? And the same with the folks that come from different regions. So we have folks from, who are born in other countries or have lived in other places who have a chance to share their stories in a relaxed atmosphere where we're sharing a common activity. So you're not really focusing on the differences, but hearing and learning as you stitch your piece. And on a really good day, they're stitching their pieces for charity. So that's the other component of our groups, is who receives whatever we're making once you learn to do your stitches.
Right. And I will say, speaking of charities and speaking of the work that you do there, so I know I was reading recently with the city of Glen Cove and with several different organizations and employees there. You not only engaged the community as far as creating the pieces, both crochet and knitting, but you donated them to veterans. And how many veterans did that serve? I forgot what the number was.
So let me tell you the whole thing, because I'm so proud.
Yeah. No, you should be. You should be.
We had our event at City Hall, our city employees night, and I received a text from someone in one of our other groups, the I can't remember the acronym correctly. So another location was asking for help with their drive for veterans. And that got the ladies and I talking right in that moment. And we thought, how great would it be to do a drive? Now, this is the beginning of September. And I'm stitching away and thinking, and being a little cheeky, I said, well, we should set a goal for 11/11 because Veterans Day is November 11th. And I said, all right, we need 1,111 items to go to our veterans. And then I thought, gosh, what did I just say? Because it's like the first week in September, and that's not very far off. And bless them all, they said, yeah, let's do that. And so we spread the word between our other groups. And then they spread the word to people they knew or employees. And we got the question, well, I don't really knit and crochet. I don't have time to learn, but can I purchase something and donate? And we're like, you know what? Absolutely. Veterans and their families need, every bit of support that we can offer. And so that's what we did. And by the time we were all finished collecting, we had over 1,600 items. So it was so fabulous. And then we went, how do we get them distributed? It's one thing to take a few dozen items, but how do I do this? And I have some family members that were former military, and I said, okay, give me your suggestions. Who can I contact? And I was able to touch base with members from the Disabled American Veterans Organization, and they met us at City Hall and took the entire lot, and then happened to have a drive-through event coming up on their calendar already. So I don't know how many really went to each location, because that wasn't part of my responsibility. I was just thrilled that we were able to help these folks with, it was hats, scarves, gloves, all of it. It was
I think about because as you know, I'm president of the Tribute and Honor
That's right.
Foundation that serves veterans.
Yeah.
And so that made my heart just beat even harder when I read that about you.
It's
This is you.
me.
I mean, it's your community, but it's you who had that thought and boldly said the number before you were maybe even ready for it.
Yeah.
And is that not how many things often start?
Isn't that fabulous, though? Everyone rose to the occasion. Right?
Yes.
And I'll tell you, I can't recall her name. There was an employee at the hospital that knows a friend of mine. That's how the word spread. And I had to go in for a surgery a few months later, and she came in because of this generous donation. I said, can you send her in so I can say thank you, face to face as I'm getting ready to go?
Oh my gosh,
So
right.
yeah, so that's how we spread the word. And that was just a one-time drive. The rest of the time, we send regular donations to Northport, to the VA, for lap blankets, bed blankets that they get to keep. There's a homeless shelter down on the South Shore that receives a lot of our stuff. It's a transitional housing, and
Right.
so they can use them there. They can take them with them, but they're also a distribution point. So that's some of them. The veterans is definitely my heart project.
Right.
But we have other organizations that certainly benefit from us.
Sure. And are you yourself a veteran?
I am not.
You are not.
No.
No.
So I was supposed to go in early enlistment, and I got hurt
wow.
back to back. My recruiter came twice, and one time I had torn my knee, and another time I had torn my shoulder, and he went, "Really?" And so I ended up not going military route. I went to college.
Wow.
But my newfound family, the siblings I found, I have a brother who's a retired ranger. He was Mountain Division.
Wow.
I have a cousin who is 82nd Airborne, retired. My father was Navy. My uncle is Air Force. My grandfather was Army.
Here we go.
So,
yes,
yeah.
through the list.
So we'll keep going. But
you know that I mean, again, I often feel as someone who has not served, I have a brother who served 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan. Right. Again, the list. My mom was in the Cadet Nurse Corps. My dad was in the Navy, World War II. Okay. But I always feel like those of us who are fortunate enough to know veterans and to be able to say thank you. To me, granted, what we do in our little things are a drop in the bucket
Correct.
compared to their sacrifice
Correct.
and what they gave to protect our freedom.
That's right. That's right.
But the gift that comes both in being able to give and also be in the room when you recognize it makes a difference in that small way.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, yes, it's keeping someone warm, but it's also saying thank you.
It is. But it's also keeping you physically warm, right? Protecting you from the cold. But it's warming your heart, knowing that someone thought of you while they were making. I mean, I might not know that particular person, but I'm thinking of them as I crafted, making sure that, it's something that's going to help them both with the heat, but their actual feelings,
Right.
So the first time I did a project for our military, though, was quite a few years ago. I was a Girl Scout leader, and the girls were 5th grade, and I taught them to crochet, and they made helmet liners for troops serving in Afghanistan during that war.
Wow.
And it was a project with the craft store AC Moore. They don't exist anymore, but they were the ones that were handling it, so I didn't have to deal with the distribution again. But the girls stepped up and made it, and here they are with their helmet liners. So yeah, so that pretty much was the start of our donations for the military.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So how do you feel that your art form, and again, I'm kind of coming back to this how, each individual then joins together to serve the whole or to serve our community. And how does engaging individuals into this particular art form and getting involved, how does that make a difference, or does it make a difference for our broader society?
It absolutely makes a difference because we're giving that spot for people to belong. So at the community center, those folks are lovely. They already have a spot, right? They already have their acquaintances and so on. Some of my other locations, though, this might be the first time people are getting out. There was one lady who was so sweet. She had lost her husband and her kids lived far away and saw that we met at the library. And so she came in the first 3 weeks, these are 2-hour events, first 3 weeks, she never took her yarn out of her bag. It was just about sitting at the table and having a group of people there to share some time with, share some stories, and know they were going to be there when she came back next time. So I think that's something that
consistency
needs.
Consistency.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we've had folks that have had medical situations, so the group is there for them. There may be food has gone in because as a group we say, oh, let's, put together a little something, and it arrives. We celebrate each other's victories. We've traveled together. There was a woman that was a little sad. Her family hasn't maybe been including her in so much. And so we said, all right, we'll do a trip together. And a bunch of us went on a cruise for a week.
Wow.
And so that was, we call ourselves the cruising hookers. Hope it's okay that I say that. And as we had our matching sweatshirts on, and as folks saw us walk down the hallway, we'd hear hookers as we passed. And for that week, they were, one family together, even though they weren't related to each other.
Right.
And so I think that makes a difference because we all get lonely, we all get scared. And to know there's this group of people that you can count on, I think that's important to whole communities, right?
Well, yes. And I will say you in my head, I'm thinking, yes, here is yet again another one of the healing arts.
Absolutely.
Because what happens when you're involved in an activity, is bigger than just the creation of the art. It's the community that you become a part of. And as you say, places like the Senior Center, and I often say of the Senior Center, it's a great place to live, but it's a really much richer place because we have the Glen Cove Senior Center, because people have a place.
They do.
But it's one thing to have a place, but then to also have purpose.
Correct.
And, the fact, and there's so many things at the Glen Cove Senior Center, but the fact that one of those components is your group. And what do you call your group?
So I call myself Knit with Kate, no matter where I am.
Right,
But
okay.
at the Senior Center, I didn't know about it really. I knew it existed, but I'm not quite eligible to be a member yet. So I didn't really know all that they had to offer. And then AJ, who unfortunately isn't there anymore, but
Sure.
AJ tracked me down at the library one day, came and said, we'd like somebody to teach if you have time. Of course I have time. I'll make time. And so they had an existing crochet group. They completed, hundreds of things for our Veterans Drive last year, but they didn't have someone who could instruct. And so that's when I came along. So we're definitely growing in our numbers, and folks come from other places, even to the Senior Center, because all you have to do is reside in Nassau County and be, 60 or older.
And I will say I am a card-carrying member of the Senior Center, and I am a member of the Sage Foundation, or a board member, which is the financial supporting arm of the Glen Cove Senior Center.
Perfect.
And of course, I just love everybody there. It's such an incredible place. And I will say, Kate, to your credit, I was at a meeting a few days ago, and your name came up.
Uh-oh.
And the group, no, not at all.
Okay.
Everybody's face lit up.
Thank
and
you.
when they talk about you and what you bring to that center, and again, you never know how one small act can touch a life.
Right.
And, you're talking about the woman who never took the yarn out of her bag. And you talk, so everybody, wherever they are in their comfort level, the fact that there is a community and there is a thoughtfulness and how that is together. And you never know when someone must have that now.
Right.
And I just think, again, and somebody you think, oh, well, you're just knitting or you're just doing crochet.
Right.
I told you about my buddy, Janet Taylor, down in North Carolina. And Janet will call and say, "Oh, there's a new fiber store in town. She's near Wake Forest, which is in the Raleigh-Durham area." And she said, "Oh, there's a new fiber store in Wake Forest," and I'm like, "Oh, that really must be so." I'm just warm all over.
Well, I would be.
It's true, right? That's what I know.
Yeah.
So unless you're part of that community, maybe you don't quite get it. But on the flip side of the coin, I love that it brings her so much joy.
Yeah.
And I love that it brings other people joy. And, that's why as I sat there doing my little bit of crocheting and trying to get it right, and you were showing me how to do it, even though it took me a bit.
Give yourself a minute. Could you ride a bike in a day?
What's that?
Could you ride a bike in a day?
I could not ride a bike.
And that's
in a
what
day.
I tell all of my people.
Okay.
When folks get frustrated in those 10 minutes, I'm like, gosh, your letters weren't perfect the first day. You really have to.
That's good.
Give
That's why
yourself
you're a
minute.
good teacher.
That is why.
That's why you're a good teacher. And I will say, I often will post things on social media, especially if it's an opportunity to talk up things that good happening in the community.
Thank you.
And, I'll post something about some concern about the environment or those kind of things, and I may get, 10 or 15 likes or comments. Gaitley sitting there with the you all at the senior center trying to crochet gets like 1,227
My
likes.
goodness.
Right?
Oh, that's
I'm
fabulous.
exaggerating a little
That's
bit.
okay. I'll take
but
it.
lots, it's funny what people respond to.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I thought that I need to have you on the show is to drive home the point that bringing community together, bringing those many voices together into one community manifests itself in many ways.
Yes.
And, it's the same way I feel about the creative arts and music and theater and all of those things. Oftentimes, when we deliberately are trying to change things or deliberately have a new community or an old community or people coming together and we're all different, and because we're different, there's an uncomfortableness that may come with that. And maybe our knee-jerk reaction because of our history is to, push away or shy away or sadly, be somewhat combative or just not welcoming. The arts, whether it's music or whether it's theater or whether it's crocheting,
Right.
and people sitting in a room with many different backgrounds, with an activity, doing something good for our veterans nonetheless.
That's right.
And then those conversations that come up. Because oftentimes you can solve more problems when the focus isn't this, it's something
It's down
else.
here. Absolutely.
And then you forget to be mad, or you forget that you're different.
That's right.
Or your difference, instead of being something to be afraid of, is something to celebrate and learn about one another.
That's right.
And to me, that is the gift. That is truly the gift. And to me, that's what I hear, the people at the senior center or people around town or people at the library, talk about you and what you do with this group and what they do together. That is what I hear, is that coming together and that joining together. And to me, that is where we have a better world.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's actually quite a compliment to me.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I would like, just to make sure if people are watching, that they know how to find you, how to learn more about what you're doing.
Okay.
As I remember, you said you've got a new website. You're still building it. But why don't you share that website? Also share where you go as far as the different places and locations. And we have to wrap this up in a minute. So also share anything you want to share as kind of a closing comment.
Okay. Well, thank you. My website is Knit with Kate. And there's not much there, but my calendar is there and things are coming. It's free. There's no ads. You can find me at Glen Cove Library, the temple here in Glen Cove, the senior center, as we've said. I do go to Bayville as well, senior center. I'm sorry, their community center and their library. Or if there's somebody that has a group that wants to have their own private lessons, you can email me, Kate@knitwithkate.com, and we can find a place and a time, and everything is free. That's the key.
And I love that. I love that. Kate, what a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for having me here.
I'm Gaitley Stevenson-Mathews. You've been watching Many Voices, One Community. My guest has been Kate Csillag. Csillag.
Yes, perfect.
I'm going to get it right before we end on the program. And what a gift. Make sure you see all of our programming at HMTV at HMTC. And thank you so much. Until next time, make sure you tune in. Thank you.